Okay, go ahead.
Ready?
Mhm.
Alright. Has there ever been a time where you're watching, or if you're playing a sport, you feel like you can pick out who's like the best team player on there, or like you can pick out a whole team as a whole? It's like got like a bunch of good players on it. Well, that's what we'll be discussing today, is kind of like understanding what a good team player is. The first thing we'll be going over is communication. It's really important to have good communication. You need to be able to communicate healthily to your teammates, and you need to be able to be vocal, like be super loud so that they can understand what you're saying. There's a lot of times where when I'm playing soccer, I need to be loud and vocal, but I need to be short as well, because there's not a lot of time that you have to kind of say a whole sentence to your teammates. So you gotta kind of break down your sentences. Second thing about communication will have to be verbalizing, or not verbalizing, listening. You need to be able to understand what your teammates are saying. You guys need to come up with a very broad term of things to say that can kind of give you an idea of what you're doing. So like in soccer, if we're crossing the ball, we just yell cross. That gives the player with the ball a chance to just send it over without having to think about looking up and then having to make a connection to a different player. They just lob it up. Also, with listening, you need to be able to separate voices from each other. You need to know who you're listening to. So talking to your teammates on a day-to-day basis, or your coaches, and understanding what their voices sound like, so you can separate once you're in a game with other players or people on the field. The second main point is going to be having knowledge. Nobody really learns sports overnight. You need to be able to study the way you play, taking criticism from everybody else, just having an overall idea of what you're doing and if you're skillful. And with having years of experience, you will have to be confident as well. There's a lot of times that players play for 10 plus years, but they don't think that they're confident in themselves because they just don't want to be they don't want to be too much. So they get really into their feelings, and so they don't really play as well as they should. Being a good team player isn't always going to be team specific or player specific. It's got to be about your team as well. So that brings us into our third point of being an open-minded team. You need to have a good attitude, and you need to get along with your teammates. No team is going to be a good team if everybody's just fighting the whole time. And you need to be able to adapt to each other. So if you come up with a play and somebody else doesn't like how that's looking, adapt and try and find a solution for that play. So that's kind of my main 3 points as we're coming to an end. I hope we can all see how being a good team player can affect if you win or not. And it's not always just about one person, it's just about the whole team as well.